Why the Christian gospel in a world full of gospels? This topic comes up quite a lot. I always would address or ask this question when I was exploring Christianity more. And it's interesting because what I mean by a world full of gospels is you go down any street, any busy street, in any city center, the world is full of these messages that it wants you to follow. These good news messages, these gospels. You can go down like Bank Street in the city of Ottawa in Canada. You go down any busy street in Sydney, Australia, any busy street in London, England. There's always these gospel messages demanding you to follow their way. And it was the same thing in the text that I'm about to read that Paul was dealing with when he was walking around a busy street. So I'm gonna read a text, and that'll just give us the context of this message. And it's found in Acts 17, verses 16 to 21. Now while Paul was waiting for them at Athens, his spirit was provoked within him as he saw that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with the Jews and the devout persons, and in the marketplace every day with those who happened to be there. Some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers also conversed with him, and some said, "What does this babbler wish to say?" Others said, "He seems to be a preacher of foreign divinities, because he was preaching Jesus and the resurrection." And they took him and brought him to the Areopagus, saying, "May we know what this new teaching is that you're presenting? For you bring some strange things to our ears. We wish to know, therefore, what these things mean." Now all the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there would spend their time in nothing except telling or hearing something new. You see, Paul is doing the same thing that what we do when we go to a new city. We want to play the tourist. We walk around and we look at the architecture, we look at the culture, we go into shops, and we just walk around and talk to people. And Paul is doing it here in Athens, which is found in Greece. It's still the capital of Greece. It was known as a place of beauty. Like, it was renowned, like known throughout that area of the world. It was known for its beauty, for its culture, for its trade. And it was also known as a place of thought, a place of philosophy, where many things many beliefs started there. So Paul's walking around, he's waiting for his friends that dropped him off to show up, because he arrived there earlier, and he was provoked. And what is he provoked about? He's provoked by idols. Now, what is an idol? An idol is something that just controls your life, something that you seek after constantly, something that makes your decisions lean a certain way. That could be materialism, wanting to buy things more and more and more to fill into your house. It could be your job. Your job can be an idol if it consumes you. Fitness, any kind of fitness, whether it's soccer, running, rock climbing, anything like that, if it just consumes you, makes you not enjoy any other part of life, it is an idol. And why would this provoke him? You see, Paul has a background of being a Jewish Pharisee. So that means he would study the Old Testament, which is the Torah, to Jewish people. He would be so knowledgeable in the Old Testament that he'd be able to quote it. He would have been living by it before he came to the Christian faith, striving for it, to follow the law perfectly. So he's provoked because one of the laws is you shall have no other God except God. You shall have no carved image. You shall not do any of that stuff. And here Paul is provoked because he's in a city where the pillars of buildings are faces of gods. So it provoked him. He wanted to help people. He wanted to reason with people and explain what Christianity is. And why are these bad? Why would an idol be bad? You see, they become all-consuming. As I said a little bit earlier, that they can control you. They control your life's decisions. And you see many people who, let's just use fitness as an example, who are so consumed by fitness for the betterment of getting better in the sport, they normally throw away people to the side. It could be their spouse, if they have like some big marathon that they want to go for, or they want to become like a pro hockey player or a pro basketball player. They will sacrifice everything else in their lives to achieve this if it is a huge idol in their life. They're obsessed with it. See, in Paul's time, it would have been thought, ideologies that obsess people, materialism, wealth. And that's very true still today. We see it in our culture. People are obsessed with new ideologies, new gospel messages. And the gospel just means good news. So the Christian message, it says it is good news. It could be any gospel message you walk down the street. It claims it is good news. It is news you should follow. Some of these could be love is love. You see that a lot. That is a gospel message. It claims to be this thing. If you follow, it'll provide it'll make you authentic in your lifestyle. Another one is my truth. Another one is no one can define you. You see, let's just look at my truth. See, my truth is like this new phenomenon that has come up. It is basically that regardless of reason, regardless of your life situation, your responsibilities, you can just say, well, it is my truth, so I'm going to do this. Or it's my truth, I believe in this, so no other thing matters. An example of this, you actually see this quite a bit now, is either like a spouse, whether it's the wife or the husband, they leave their spouse for someone else, and they just say, it's my truth. I need to live my truth. I need to be true to myself. So they just leave. A happy marriage, leave their kids. It could be another thing where they just, within the marriage, they switch their gender. They just say, it's my truth. It's defined. And normally when someone holds these viewpoints that they idolize, they become defensive or prideful. That's how you can spot an idol in someone's life. They just become super defensive or prideful of what they believe in when you question it or you say it's wrong. And just notice what Paul does here when he's talking to other people. And you see it in verse 17. He says, so he reasoned in the synagogues with the Jews and the devout persons, and in the marketplace every day with those who happen to be there. Some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers also conversed with him. Notice how it says that Paul reasoned with them. So that is a very unique thing with people who hold idols. They don't reason. They get super worked up. Jewish people, they met in synagogues. They still do. And the devout persons are converts of Judaism. And they consider everyone else unclean unless they convert to Judaism. Epicurean philosophy is this philosophy of basically you strive for tranquility. You strive for freedom from fear, absence from bodily pain. You strive for modest pleasures, not sexual pleasures or sensuality, just modest pleasures in life. They believe in gods, but they also believe that gods could care less about human life. Stoicism is a belief where they hold that wrong emotions are resulted from errors in judgment. They try to attain an unbiased way of thinking, which is impossible. And they commend suicide as a way of escape of life. See, these beliefs all have a major thing wrong with them. They are so focused on themselves. And you see that in our culture. Our culture is obsessed with itself. And we all suffer from this. We all are obsessed with ourselves, trying to make ourselves better, trying to find a way in life to better ourselves. But you see, and we get worked up when people question what we're doing. And you see, force doesn't lead to truth. Honest debate does. Anything that forces you to follow its viewpoint is not good. Anything that tries to cram it down your throat and say this is what you have to believe or that's it is wrong. Things should be talked about, should be reasoned about. And you see, Paul is presenting a message, a gospel message to them. And you read about it in the following verses. And what he says is that humanity was lost and could not save itself. Since Adam and Eve, humanity sinned and has been lost, has separated itself from God. But God, in his immense love, sent his Son to live a perfect life. You see, Jesus became the perfect sacrifice and stood in our place condemned. The wrath that we deserved, God's wrath, he took it on. Jesus died on the cross, was laid in the tomb, rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven and will return to judge the living and the dead. You see, Paul's presenting that anyone who puts their faith and trust in Jesus will have eternal life. You have to turn to him, though. You can't just continue living the life you're living. You see, idols enslave us. They captivate us. They fool us. They turn your eyes from truth, from the ultimate truth. But you can say, well, Matt, to be honest, Christianity sounds like enslavement. It sounds like this thing where you lose all sense of freedom. You can't do anything else. You lose your moral ability, your liberty. But think about it. The obsession with sex enslaves people. That they have to, for some reason, their truth is they have to be with all these multiple partners. Another one could be greed. Think about how much the pursuit of wealth consumes people, and they'll do anything to obtain this money in their bank account, this perfect amount. But this amount never seems to be reached. They just keep striving for it, and they throw people to the side. And it enslaves people until they die. But you see, Jesus is true. Gives you true moral liberty. He sets you free from these enslavements. And he does it freely. He doesn't make you do some things first. You see, Jesus came while we were still dead to ourselves, while we were still separated from God. And he came to bring us back to God. You see, that is the Christian message. Now, some of you could be saying, well, why am I guilty then? Like, why am I guilty for something I didn't do, something that happened a long time ago, as it says in the Bible? Why would I be guilty? Well, it's interesting. I'll present this to you. Notice how our culture is obsessed with holding people guilty. It idolizes it. It seeks it out. People who make a comment, let's say 10 years ago on Twitter, they get held accountable now. Even if their viewpoints have changed, they're held accountable to the beliefs back then. We are tearing down statues right now, holding people accountable from a different context of life, from a different era of life. Different ideologies were then, and we're holding them accountable now. People are getting canceled for things. It's interesting because God holds us accountable to what we do in this life. But he provides us with a second chance. It's like this. Picture a military battle. And the battle has been super intense for many days. And the good guys, they're holding the line, and the bad guys are coming at the line. And it's starting to look pretty grim for the good guys. Their line is starting to thin. The bad guys are pushing the line back, and they need reinforcements to hold the line. So the captain gets a message from the message runner, and he opens the message, and the message says, we cannot give you reinforcements. You have to hold the line to the end. Anyone would be devastated with this news. Anyone. And that is what the Gospels in this world are like. The messages that we hear, these good news. You see, they promise you these things, this perfect life. They promise you popularity. They promise you beauty. They promise you wealth. They promise you a new identity, your true self. But you see, when things get hard, it just says that we cannot help you. You cannot have reinforcements. But you see, the Christian message is in the same sense. There's an intense battle. Messenger comes. But when the captain opens it, it says, we'll bring you reinforcements. We will bring you, and that saves the day. That saves the good guys. You see, that's the Christian message. It claims, or it says, It says that we will save you, and that is through Jesus Christ. You see, our culture has many messages, and if you read here in verse 21, it did then too. Now all the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there would spend their time in nothing except telling or hearing something new. Our culture has so many messages, so many narratives, so many gospel messages that claim this is the way, but then they'll change. They'll change their ideologies, they'll change the fine print on things. You see, everything is constantly changing. Our culture is obsessed with something new. But the Christian message has never changed. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life." You see, the Christian message has never changed. It has been the same in the past, the same now, and the same in the future until Jesus returns. You see, now is the time to think about what your future holds. What happens when you die? Believe in Jesus.